Alright, hello everyone. So this is going to be me talking about the best IDs and egos for new players and returning players, or anyone who wants to know what IDs to go and pick up before the season changes. Let's start off with the new players. For new players, I want you guys to first off not be too hung up about not getting every ID from season 4. If you don't know and you're new, when the season changes, you will not be able to dispense any of the season 4 IDs and egos. You can only pull the season non-event 4 IDs and egos. But if they are an event character like multi-crack Faust, multi-crack Heath, Euro Divis, these 4 are going to be special event IDs from season 4. They are not dispensable or pullable at all. So I want you guys to first off not be worried about that, because they will come back in season 6. Alright? And another thing is that you will always have a huge pool of good IDs to go and get and just Ungabunga 90% of the content in the game, to the point that you can just press win rate and then look away from your screen. It is very easy to form a team of very strong clashers, and that's all you need in Limbus company. You don't need tanks, you don't need healers, you don't need mages or any other funky roles. All you need is just pure raw punching damage. Literally all of these people here have some of the best clashing in the game, or they have some of the best damage output in the game. If you just know how they function, you know how to best utilize each of these characters here, it's not very hard. You will be able to just Ungabunga like 90% of the content. In fact, I use pretty much only these characters up here for clearing Refraction Railway every single season, because I find it the most accessible, and for new players, like, all of these characters are always available because they are either season 1 units or they are standard units, so always available. The only two to watch out for is these two up here, because these two are Walpurgis Knight units. So if you don't have them, still don't fret, because for Faust you can always go and take any of the other Faust down here, or you can use the Lobotomy Cold Force, or you can just not use any Faust at all. In that case, you just use literally any of the other sinners. You only need about a team of 6, a team of 7 sometimes, or a team of 5 for a lot of the content in the game. For season 1 to 3, I think it was like 5 to 6, and then it went to 7 for a little bit, and then after that it went back to 6 for most of the content. So you really don't need a full bus of units. Even for the future, like chain battles, you don't even need 12 sinners. You only need 6 sinners in order to make sure that you have a full team on the field, and sometimes you can even run with less and you'll still be fine. So don't need to worry about that. By the way, Zwei Ishmael is 100% up here, and she's also down here, but she's not really a seasonal character, so I can't put her here, but she's a very strong Tremor character. So this thing here doesn't have Zwei Ishmael, but I'll definitely throw Zwei Ishmael up here. Definitely a high tier character, and I actually use her more often than Reindeer Ishmael at this point, because she is just so damn easy, so damn strong to use. Alright, so let's do a brief summary of each of these characters here. A lot of these characters here are going to be considered kind of pseudo charge characters. They gain something, and when they gain the something, they get a bonus. That's what these archetypes are. For this character here, she's a unique charge character. She only gains her specific charge, but if other people give her charge count, she will be able to get that charge as well. So she gains red eyes as well as the skull face or something. But yeah, she's able to gain this unique charge, and then after you get all this unique charge, you use the skill tree to do serious skull bust, and you do a crazy amount of damage. A lot of characters are actually designed like this. For example, for Regret Faust, she has skill 1 and skill 2 to help build up her Tremor count. After she gains a certain amount of Tremor count, you use the skill tree. Now it becomes a big AoE with lots of burst and lots of damage, but you need to build it up. So for a lot of these characters, their skill 1 and skill 2 are going to be the build up skills. For her, skill 1, skill 2, then skull bust when you're ready to pop. Skill 1, skill 2, pop skill 3 when ready to pop. Same for this one, same for this one, same for this one, same for this one. All of these characters here are functionally the same character. It's just different flavors of charge. Some of them gain Tremor count, which is just fake charge. Some of them gain literal charge. Some gain unique charge. Some gain insight, which is its own mechanic. It's a discard mechanic. So you need to understand all of these funky mechanics to make these characters work. But it is usually summarized as use skill 1, use skill 2. Once you have enough of the charge, you press the skill tree. That's really all you need to know about these characters up here. Alright, now moving on to the unique one. This is going to be a negative coin ID. This negative coin ID over here is going to be Ninclair. And Ninclair is one of the best Ungabunga characters in the game, because all he needs is to just press win rate. And if you press win rate and you are using your skill 2 or skill 3 and it says struggling, you probably still win. Because this character is funky. He's negative coin, and negative coin characters get better at clashing the less coins they have. I don't want to go into the specifics of this, otherwise this becomes basically a compact guide, but the struggling is a fake news. You will be able to win most of your clashes even if it says struggling. So feel free to just clash into anything. If it's a red text saying struggling, it is false. You will probably still win because these negative coin IDs are funky like that. Alright, and this character also has some of the best damage in the game, with skill 3 doing 30, 30, 30 3 times, as well as the skill 2 doing 16 4 times. It's very powerful damage output. So yeah, a very strong negative coin ID, a bit funky because you might only be used to the positive coins at this point in time, but once you try him a little bit and you're able to manage his sanity quite okay, then you will be good to go. You only need maybe 1 or 2 passives from some other characters to give him some sanity, and he will be pretty much fine, and you sometimes don't even need to because he only needs to kill enemies to help offset his sanity loss. And if he needs to gain some sanity emergency, you can just use an ego to give him the sanity also can. Alright. So, what about other characters here? This is the funkiest character in the game because literally all you need to do is press win rate. He has no conditions and all he does is, as long as you roll hits, this character will win the game for you because his skill tree is a 5 plus 25, which means if you roll the hits, you are now a 30 coin skill, allowing you to literally beat egos outright with this character. So this is the funky character who only needs to roll hits. If you can roll hits, congratulations. If you fail to roll the hits, that is a skill issue. So yeah, this character here, just Ungabunga with him, just press win rate. If you don't win, that is your issue because you did not roll the hits. I'm sorry to say. Alright, that's a bit of a joke, but pretty much this character here is really no conditions. He just does a lot of damage and he loves to hit people who are about to die. He gets more value from those. So that is this character's archetype. And then we also have the speed archetype. So these two characters here, they want to be above a certain amount of speed. For Heathcliff, it's above 6 speed. Minimum 6 plus speed, and for St. Clair, he just wants to be faster than his opponent. If he's faster, he will just straight up gain coin power and beat his opponents to death. So these characters really don't require too much micromanagement, but Heathcliff does, because you need to make sure that you have 6 speed before you use the green skill or the purple skill, because all of them gain coin power, and without the coin power, these skills will not do a crazy amount of coin clashing or damage output. It's because that +1, +2 coin power is really very valuable. So he has a very easy way to do it. All you need to do is to pop body sack, which is his innate ego, his base ego, and that will give you 2 haste, allowing you to get the additional 2 speed required to activate your quick suppression, and then your entire team will now get a 40% dynamic multiplier on any enemy that they are hitting. So yeah, this character is really damn strong just because of quick suppression, and that's it. Alright, so after the speed archetype, we now have the conditional archetype. Dichi Rodion honestly just belongs here. She just press win rate, don't really care about the insight. The insight just gives her shields. So if she loses the clashing, she just gets no damage because she is a Dichi tank and she has a bunch of shields and she loves to get hit because she gets blunt damage up. Very solid character. And then we also have Ring Sang, who was so OP that they tried to nerf him, and then they realized they couldn't because they already released him. So there's some gacha law shit around that thing, so it, I think, puts them open to lawsuits or something, so they didn't do it. But pretty much for Ring Sang, he is very strong because his conditions are hella easy to meet. All you need to do is to make sure the enemy has a certain amount of bleed on them, then your skill 2 does crazy damage. The skill 2, the skill 3, the skill 1 is 3 coin, 4 coin. The damage output is ridiculous. His clashing power is very solid. He just needs the enemy to have debuffs. That's it. And the debuffs can be anything from Tremor to Burn to defense level down to Fragility to Bind to whatever the hell you want. Weakness Exploiter, literally anything will count as a debuff for this character here. So it's super easy no matter what team comp you're doing. Linclair literally applies Burn and you don't even notice this shit. But yeah, he does apply Burn, Mola will apply Tremor, and then this one will apply Tremor, this one will... Yeah, you get the picture. Pretty much you can always find a sort of status on any character. So this character's conditions are super easily met. You can press win rate and you just wonder why he does a crap ton of damage, and you don't even need to understand because this character is really strong with the Ungabunga team up here. And honestly, with any other character down here, Photo Electric for example also count as a debuff, so literally anything works on this character. Alright. So moving on to the 2 stars, if you don't have any of these characters up here, you can always look down here and just pick up any of these characters here, because these characters either have some decent clashing or they have decent damage output. They are not going to really compare to most of these characters up here, but some of them have some respectable clashing numbers and can actually beat some of them in certain moves, but not all of them, because these are going to be your 2 stars, mainly used as supports. But with the recent Season 4, they released quite a bit of very awesome supports for the team comps, and I actually always use them, or at least always use their support passives, because they definitely went crazy with the supports in this season. Alright, so these are just some options, and of course if you have none of these IDs or these IDs, then you can always go back to old reliable, the good old 1 star, because when I was starting Limbus and I had no resources to up-tie 3 my characters, Heathcliff, Hong Lu and Otis were always there for me, and I tried some of the other sinners here, but none of them really compare to these guys up here. They have free attack power up. Why does base Hong Lu have coin power plus? But I don't know why, but he has coin power on base Hong Lu. And then we have Otis with a massive 20 rolling skill 3 and some respectable damage on the skill 1 and some great clashing on the skill 2 with some extra damage output. Like, this character is kind of ridiculous at base ID. So yeah, I did use all of these characters here to clear, and so if you're a new player and you're wondering what to do, you can use these characters for a little bit. But I would not recommend uptying them to 4, because you don't get uptie 4 for free. You need to pay extra thread and shards for it. So you might as well go and invest into another unit the moment you get your hands on them. Alright, so these are all the Ungabunga IDs that you can use, and they will be able to just clash and win most of the content in the game. Alright, now let's talk about the Season 4 priority stuff here. Alright, so if you are afraid of missing out these characters, I would say that you should just prioritize these IDs first, your favorites, before you go to this one over here. And if you don't know who is really good because you're a Metal Slave and you have no particular favorites, don't worry, I'll help you out here. First off, Earl King. Earl King, in the Sinking team, he enjoys it so much because he gets so much coin power from being in a Sinking team comp. He's very bad at applying it himself, so he needs some of his servants to do it for him. So it makes sense, right, lore-wise? So yeah, all these characters here are going to help him by applying a crap ton of Sinking potency and count from one way or another through their Echoes of the Mana application or through their skills. So that's why this character loves to be in Sinking team. But if you throw him into a non-Sinking team, he will work perfectly fine also. It's just that he will not reach his true potential, because Earl King will still get his coffin stacking, and coffin stacking just makes his damage output really strong. And if you just know how to pilot this character alone, you will be totally fine. So Ungabunga wise, Earl King definitely a must-get character for all players, because once the banner changes, once the season changes, and Earl King is locked behind Season 4, you can only get him by pulling. So I do highly recommend getting the Earl King here, because even outside of Sinking, you can totally make him work. He is perfectly fine by himself. Alright, next we have Linton Gregor. This character here used to be kind of awkward because we had no clue what the hell Puma was cooking with him, and then they released Solemn Lament Gregor, and this shit here has such insane synergy with Linton Gregor, and you pretty much just always run him, because Solemn Lament Gregor will nuke your sanity and then give it back to you, and he loves that because he gets additional damage and he gets fragility on himself, which is good because he does have some sort of synergy where he loves having debuffs on himself so that he can do more damage to the opponent. So the synergy makes this and this a match made in heaven, and this Linton Gregor is now a very solid character. Outside of Sinking, however, I would probably not use a Gregor ID because there's just so many other better options that don't require Sinking or specific Sinking setups to make this character work. So Gregor, not really a Ungabunga character, but if you have Solemn Lament Gregor or you're planning to get it in the future, I would then recommend this character here, because Solemn Lament Gregor is more like Solemn Delete Gregor, because it will straight up delete a boss from existence if you have the proper setup. Speaking of setup, that's going to be Faust, because whenever you shoot someone with Sinking and you are the lowest sanity, Faust will give you some extra sanity on hit, and that will let you shoot your Solemn Lament Gregor even longer. And besides that, nothing else. She's just a sanity generator. You can use her on the field just so you can extend your Echoes of the Mana by stacking it up with your Otis. So when Otis has finished her Echoes of the Mana charges, then you just go and apply it with your Faust, and then you can increase the duration, allow your entire team to do the Sinking shenanigans. Outside of that, she doesn't really have a purpose except for being on the bench, and then hopefully you have a Sinking character who can take benefit from her support passive. Otherwise, there's just much better Faust to go for up here, because she is meant to be a support support for this Solemn Lament Gregor setup only, or the Wingbeat Ishmael setup only. Alright. Other than that, yeah, for sinking with the Echoes of the Manor. Okay. So, besides Faust, let's talk about now Otis and Yi Sang. These two characters here are definitely characters that are made for sinking teams. They have unique statuses that support the sinking teams, and yet these characters also have some really solid clashing. For Yi Sang, she has 12 on the skill 1, normally is 11 for average characters, but this character here is like, nah, I will roll 12, and if I have 10 bullets, I will clash power +1, 13, very solid. Then here we get another clash power +1 at high bullets, and because if you use your skill 2 or skill 3 even one time, that opponent will have enough butterflies for you to trigger your skill 2 and skill 3 again, so you can get the coin power actually very easily. The issue using him outside of sinking is that you will not be able to actually gain back the ammo very easily, because your passive here requires 3 Gloom Resonance, unless you somehow find another few Gloom Resonance characters to get some synergy here, like for example the charge characters. There's a lot of Gloom there, so if you manage to do that, then power to you, and you will be able to get the reload, then you won't have any bullet problems. But if you are not able to do any sort of resonance, then this character will actually have some bullet problems, and you might need to take a turn to just reload your gun. So yeah, this character here is actually pretty damn Ungabunga, and it's actually pretty easy to get at least 1 coin power with the skills, because he himself applies enough butterflies that he can get the additional +1 coin power. It's just a bit hard for him to get the additional +1 on top of the +1. He needs to get +2 coin power to become an absolute deleter of enemies, and so if you're not able to do that, then it's going to be a bit of a waste, but it's still totally viable for a new player. So Ungabunga wise, if you got him, awesome. If you didn't get him, then well, sucks to sucks, cause in a sinking team he is really quite a beast. This is the Walpurgis unit, so if you miss the Walpurgis banner, you can only get him on the next banner. Alright, and then for Otis, well, Otis is just a very solid clasher. Her clashing power is honestly either average or above average, and she does get additional clashing power from many different sources. If the target has sinking, raw sinking potency, she will be able to get additional coin power +1, and then if you can get the resonance here, she will deal 30% more damage, she will heal SP, blah blah blah, and when she clashes against targets with less than 0 sanity, she also gets clash power +1. It's just that you need to once again get your Gloom Resonance, so if you can do this outside of a sinking team, power to you. Otherwise it will not really matter too much, because this character by default will have some pretty okay clashing already. 4, 8, 12, 16, very nice. 4, 8, 11, very nice. And 3, 6, 9, 12, 12, 16. 16 and 11s are perfectly average. And having an evasion 4 to 10 that will inflict raw sinking to the opponent, also pretty fine. This character is actually a pretty good clashing character. And if you just want to clash only without any other things, then this character here will actually pop off for you. So yeah, all of these characters up here can definitely do clashing outside of their teams, but they only get their ultra full power when you assemble all of them together. Then they will form the team of supporting each other with their sinking and also enabling everyone else to do whatever the hell they want. Echoes needs to support Butterfly, Butterfly needs support from the Gloom team, the Gloom guy needs other people to do Gloom shit for him, and this Solemn Gregor guy needs a team to apply the sinking for him so that he can do the Gloom shenanigans, and he needs his butler to take care of him so that he will be able to get some sanity back when he's shooting his bullets. So yeah, this whole team is very interwoven, and missing one of these pieces is going to be quite painful. So sinking team did get massive support, but it also made it so that you really do want at least all of these IDs and egos, including the Walpurgis ones. So for a lot of these returning players maybe are considering to get the sinking team, then you can go and pick all of them up. But you need to pick up really all of them before they all disappear into the next season, because all of them are required to make sinking into the strong, comfortable powerhouse that is right now. Alright, moving on to Charge. Charge is a really strong status now, but it's always been just strong because charge characters don't need any help. They are able to just generate their own charge, and they can just use their massive skill trees to literally win egos because they can roll 30 somethings on their skill trees. And these two IDs that were released in the Warp Corp event are just absolute monsters, because this character here gives you a special status called Photoelectricity that lets you hit the target and gain charge count. incredible support to any of these characters here. And he also has some pretty solid clashing, doesn't really need to worry about clashing, and supports the entire team. So this is a actually phenomenal 2-star ID, because normally the previous seasons, the 2-star supports are usually dogshit clashing and have a specific requirement in order to enable the team, which was why they were always so mediocre. Like, look at someone like this Sinclair over here. Where is he? Mola Sinclair, this guy. I thought that he was going to be kind of relevant because he was a Tremor support welfare unit, but he was so mediocre and took too long in order to get rolling. Compared to like LCCB Ishmael, literally just pull out a Glock, bang bang, 8 potency for a 2-2 count. Congratulations, your Tremor is on already, right? So these characters here, this Heathcliff, when I first saw it, I was like, yo, the numbers are actually pretty damn solid, and the support that he provides for these two characters here is absolutely impeccable. And so if you did not get this character, I'm very sorry, but you can definitely run these characters here without him. It's just that you will definitely feel that their build up is quite slow, with the exception of your Faust over here, because this Faust already has a pretty good ego called Teleport Faust. As long as you can use this ego, you will get 7 charge count on use, and that will help to jumpstart her very slow start. And since the future content is going to be chain battles, the more things to kill, the better her charge count gain will be, and she'll be able to prep herself with a bunch of charge potency, and then she will get a bunch of coin power. This character here is an absolute Ungabunga beast. If you have multi-crack Heath, definitely slap him in the team, otherwise you will just have to use Teleport Faust, and then you can use whatever the hell you want to just build up your charge count, consume your charge count, and just absolutely Ungabunga your opponents to death. Because when you kill people, you gain charge count, and if you just go into chain battles, this character here will just maul everything to death. Very powerful character. Otis, on the other hand, is not really a required character for charge count teams. She does provide a good support for the team, but she also does really want to have a multi-crack Heathcliff, and she does have the Dimension Shredder Ego, which is also not really required, because the charge team doesn't really need the boss that she's providing. The fact is, if you use this plus this, and then the 3 charge characters here, and then throw in whatever the hell you want, literally you can throw in Ryoshu if you want to, because she's a charge character also. But okay, you're fighting this slot lah, but pretty much you can just get 5 very powerful generalists that love to have charge, and then you just pick one character here who doesn't care about charge, and there you go. That team will probably do a lot better, because Otis takes a while to get started. It really takes a long time to get a lot of charge potency before she can start giving buffs to her allies. And the buff is not even like super major buff, it's like 25% buff to all allies or something like that. It's not particularly important. So if anything, W Otis is probably the least priority character for the charge teams in this season. You actually just need multi-crack Faust, because she is actually one of the strongest clashes in the game and one of the best damage dealers in the game, because she has a 180% multiplier on her skill 2, and that shit is just ridiculous. And then this Heathcliff here is very strong as a support for this kind of playstyle. So yeah, this is the reverse charge, where you use your skill 3s and your guard skills to gain charge, and then after that you use your skill 1 and skill 2 to consume the charge. So it's opposite of these characters up here. But this design, very powerful, and they did shove a crap ton of coin power into these characters. They are starting to be not afraid of putting 4 coin power on all of their later characters. Zoe Ishmael, this character here, all have like +4 coin power. This Ryoshu also has a +4 coin power. They're really not afraid of doing the +4s already. So it's possible if they add Uptide 5 in the future, we will see a lot more +4s and all this. As long as you can meet the conditions, you should be getting massive power. That is how this game should work, because that's how they are pushing us towards our team building. Although you can always just use the Ungabunga and you will still win anyway. So it's still well balanced. There's always these team members here that you can use to pretty much win any content. And then if you want to go for a powerful team comp that has great synergy, they will be able to perform really well. Otherwise, they will just perform average or just a little bit slower compared to with the team. That's really all it is to it. Okay, and then this core team here. Besides that, let's talk about the Season 4 Tremor team. Ryoshu, actually a very powerful support. By the way, Heathcliff and Ryoshu are both welfare units, which means that you are not able to dispense them if you are joining us now. These welfare units are only available during their respective events. You had to buy them from the shop. So if you missed it, I'm very sorry, you're not able to get them until Season 6. So Ryoshu is another very solid support. She has a niche use of when, okay, not even niche, is because most content in the future is going to be chain battles. She will stagger enemies, sorry, she will burst enemies that have been staggered. So you are able to squeeze out even more damage in combination with the Cavernous Wailing Honglu Ego. That yellow Tremor is going to let you do sloth damage to the enemy, and this character here, when you're fighting a bunch of wave battles, you definitely deploy her, and then after that you just let her do extra free hits for you and she will burst, and that burst will help to kill off the enemies that are already staggered. So it's a very solid character on the field, and as a support passive is also really powerful because it gives the first position identity +1 gain on any Tremor count. And a lot of these characters here, like I said before, are Tremor count gain characters. If you give them more Tremor count, then they will love it even more. So this character is also a very powerful support. And she can feed Euro Divi, feed Mola Ishmael, feed Regret Faust, feed Spice Bush, and so on and so forth. She's just a very powerful support passive and a very decent on-field passive because she's able to get some extra damage output for your team if you have the yellow Tremor. Alright, and then Season 4 Euro Divi, this guy has triple burst on skill 3, and because Tremor has released this Cavernous Wailing Honglu Ego, this is the reason you want to use Tremor at all, because the yellow Tremor lets you do literal sloth damage based on the Tremor potency, and this character here can do triple burst with the skill 3. Very powerful character, definitely a must have if you want to go into Tremor. As for using him by himself, it's still kind of okay because Tremor takes very long to decay. It's just that I don't think this character is very good at applying the Tremor count and the Tremor potency by himself. He will want a team of Tremor characters to help support him. I will not really talk about all the other Tremor IDs, that will be very long, but pretty much this character needs other support. But he's able to get great benefits by applying the yellow Tremor, letting his entire team go and Ungabunga the enemy and do a bunch of bursting. So the meta now for Tremor is just bursting your enemies, and this character here has a triple burst on the skill 3. Right, so this character very strong, but only for Tremor, and I would not really recommend outside of Tremor. But if you want to use him outside of Tremor, it's still okay because Tremor takes a while to decay, so that means you can get some decent stacking if you have at least like 2 characters that can apply Tremor in some way or another, or at least 1 ego that can do it. Alright, so honestly, this season, as you can see here, we had a lot of banger IDs and egos. Like, there's the Solemn Lament shit, there's the Everlasting Foul shit. I'll talk about all those later on, but pretty much this season has been absolute banger, and there's so many good options here, and they're all so fun. That's the most important thing. All these IDs are actually so fun to go and learn to pilot, and how they all work together. It's very well done. Absolute cook by P-Boon for this season, and that means that I can very much look forward to Season 5 where I get another 5 unique Bleed statuses and Bleed will come back for sure. Anyway, non-core units for this season, there are still some L's here. A lot of these characters down here are not very necessary for any of these team comps. The T-Corp team in particular is actually more of a speedrun team where you just kind of set up the Dawn by getting her Time Moratorium, and then after that you just burst the enemy to 0. There are some speedrunners who do a 2-turn clear by making sure the Dawn is able to get the correct skill combination. Then you will be able to stack a bunch of damage and get a really fast clear on some bosses because of the damage stacking with the Time Moratorium. But besides that, right, she's actually not required for a Tremor team at all because her Tremor potency, her Tremor count is not particularly very high or anything like that. You might as well look towards LCCB Ishmael or even the new Zwei Ishmael as possible options for Tremor application. These IDs here aren't exactly the best options for just doing Tremor shit. Also, they don't really burst that much, so not really a very high priority character for Tremor teams. They are just their own archetype. They are like delayed death archetype. I don't know how to call these guys, but pretty much they're not really required. They're only required if you want to specifically do a speed run or do a crazy setup where you do like a Sinking Deluge into a Sloth Deluge, because the Time Moratorium stores all damage inside of it, including Deluge damage. So you can do all of that Gloom damage as Sloth damage instead, so you can get some very funny numbers with these characters here. But besides that, not really much of a major use for them, although if you do want Chainsaw Sword Dawn over here, then feel free to go and pick her up, also can. Alright, the other 2 IDs over here, kind of a waste, I feel. This guy here is supposed to be a offense level down Rupture support. but I found basically no use for this character here. Reminds me a bit of Kuro Kumo Gregor, who's also a offense level down, but for bleed. In the best case scenario, I think it's just using them as support passives, because then their teammates can do the offense or defense level down for them. And then for the maid Ishmael, the maid Ishmael is legit just some crit character, but she doesn't really do much. She basically does crit, and if she crits, she applies sinking. But I think she also needs to be faster than the opponent or some shit like that. It's a lot of conditions. A bit like Sloshing Ishmael, where there's not really a big reason to use these characters, because there's always a better Ishmael ID out there, right? Ishmael has some of the best like 3-star IDs in the game, and so a 2-star ID that doesn't really compare to them means that they are not exactly going to be a very competitive choice. And then we also have Maid Ryoshu here. Maid Ryoshu is also not relevant to sinking teams or any other teams really. You can actually throw her into a bit of Ungabunga here, but she's not that Ungabunga. Her clashing power is kind of average, and she's mainly used to kind of do AoE damage. And yet you can go and find other characters here who can just do a crap ton more damage. I mean, you can argue you can throw up here because she's very fast at clearing a bunch of small enemies, but once the enemies start getting stronger and can clash better, you will kind of see her fall off a little bit, because she's not able to really do anything besides just AoEing down squishy enemies and stuff. Like, this character here is not particularly that strong, and after a while of using her, on day 1 I was like very excited because this character had a bunch of AoE and stuff, but then I realized actually we have a lot of other AoE options here, especially with the release of the Earl King, to the point that I'm actually comfortable just not using her, and I can just use like this Ryoshu here or this Ryoshu here to basically just compensate, because this single target damage here is basically I kill this one enemy instead of I make a bunch of enemies slightly weaker, right? So I think killing people is a lot better than just damaging them, but if you can damage multiple people into stagger, awesome lah. So okay, this is why I put her down here, but if you do prioritize the maid Ryoshu a bit higher, you can actually just throw her up here. But at the same time, I don't find a great need for her, especially when she's competing with the likes of this Ryoshu or this Ryoshu, really. Like, these Ryoshus are absolutely ridiculous in terms of damage output. So yeah, that's the final conclusion for all of these season IDs here. If you want the Ungabungas, absolutely highest priority, right, is to get the Earl King, and only because I think the drip on this character is immaculate. Not even because his kit is amazing, it's because his drip is just out of this world. You definitely want this Earl King because he looks so damn cool, and he has unique animations in his attacks. He will legit stand there and just let his shadows counter for him. Like, that is absolute aura energy. So this character here is absolutely the king of priority. You always get this Earl King even if you're a new player. Don't care if it costs you a lot of resources, get this guy just because of the immaculate drip. And of course, the next one is to get your Faust multi-crack, because this character, even with or without charge, can always find a way to gain the charge, and she'll be able to just kill a bunch of enemies, and then she starts popping off, and then she will just destroy everything. Very powerful character. And then after that, I leave it up to you in terms of priority. If you want more sinking support, then just take the rest of the sinkers. If you want to go for Tremor, go for the Tremors, and so on and so forth. Alright, so that will pretty much be it for the IDs. Since the video is so long, I'll probably be splitting this up into 2. I'll talk about the egos in the next video pretty much. Alright, so that's gonna be it for this video, guys. If I miss anything, feel free to let me know. I think I got every single ID, so pretty much these are the priorities for the IDs. These are the things that I still highly recommend for any new player to go and pick up, because these IDs are still going to be very strong and will pretty much last you forever. I can still use them to clear the railways now, so really don't be afraid. And also season 6, all of these characters will come back, so even if you miss 1 or 2 of them, don't be afraid, everything comes back. You don't have to wait 1 year for the Eula in Genshin Impact. You don't have to wait 1 year for the Nian in Arknights. Like, this game, the maximum fear of missing out is 1 season, which is 2 to 3 months. So just chill out. You will not feel their loss that hard, because you will always have some really strong Ungabungas to compensate for these guys. Alright, that's it for this video. If I missed anything, feel free to just let me know. Feel free to correct me on anything, and that's going to be it for this one. See you guys in the next video, which will be talking about egos. Alright, thanks guys, bye bye.